Good evening, everyone. On this eve of Christmas Eve, welcome to the Joe and Joe Weather Show, which is brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware, 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. They have the best prices in the New York City tri-state area and beyond, from everything from rock salt to Pelledo to mag ice pellets and flakes, shovels, snow blowers, spreaders. If we get to need them one of these days, that's the place to go to get them. So head over to Omni at, again, 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, 631-756-1125 for the best prices in town. And the website is omnitruevalue.com. And yes, I've been wearing your little Festivus shirt. I'm not a Festivus type of person.
I'm most definitely a fan of Festivus. That's why I'm wearing my shirt tonight.
Because
today is Festivus, the 23rd of December. Yes, and tinsel is distracting to me. That's why. If it were up to me, I would have a bare pole in the corner of my house. But it's not up to me. So there you are. Happy Festivus, everybody.
Well, I'm glad that you enjoy the holiday. It's just never been really my thing. And especially this year, the way I feel. But I'm actually, first time in, usually around this time of night, because I lay down a little bit before the show. So oddly enough, what winds up happening is that actually puts pressure on my large intestine in my bowel, which causes it to become inflamed, which causes me to spike a fever. And tonight I tried to make it a point to kind of move around a little bit before the show, rather than and on the top of it all, I'm still getting very tired from the medication I'm on, but it seemed to have done the trick a bit, because I'm not I'm only shooting up a slight temperature to 99.5, so that's not too bad. So anyhow, I've been, I always say how I'd rather have at least one storm going on, so that you have something to talk about, because when the weather is the way it is, and has been, it's really I don't know, it's just it can be such a struggle just trying to put a show together. I mean, you and I do it brilliantly every night, I must say, but still, it is a struggle. So anyhow, it's the 23rd of December. Tomorrow is Christmas Eve. Saturday is Christmas Day. So feel free to rant if you'd like on this eve of Christmas Eve.
I have nothing to rant about. What I can tell you is that the weather looks quite quiet. I've been seeing some local TV weathercasters trying to allude to snow and making it sound like it was going to be something significant, but it doesn't seem to me like it's going to be very significant.
You're talking about the system for tonight, correct?
Yeah.
This is I was going to bring this up tonight, because there seems to be a pattern developing here. I don't know if it's out of desperation over the fact that the weather people don't have anything to talk about, or whether they're just being deliberately told to skew their weathercast a certain way. But I can tell you, for example, let's go back a couple of nights ago? The night we didn't have, when did we not have a show? Last night, correct? So
correct.
Tuesday night we were talking, there was that low that went up the coast, and the western edge of the precip. We were wondering whether you might get an ice pellet or two where you are. Did you get an ice pellet or two?
If it happened while I was looking at the Inside the Eyelid show. So
okay, so basically you can't verify whether it did or it didn't. But it's funny.
I know there were a lot of schools north of where I am closed or delayed school openings by 2 or 3 hours. And I looked out the window. At the time I looked out the window and looked at my thermometer, it was like at 7:30 in the morning, it was already like 36 degrees. I said, there's anything going on out here, at least locally. Well, but maybe up in Ulster or Sullivan County, they may have had a few problems. But I didn't see any problems in my local area. So,
No, it's funny because I work with someone in northern Connecticut, and these telling me on the last couple of events where these small events that we've had in the last week or two, how the local Mets in the different channels were playing up some icing or some wet snow or whatever it happened to be. And each time I had to come back and say, I don't know, I'm not seeing why. This is the thing that always frustrates me is when I hear this. First of all, I don't like hearing it because
mm-hmm.
it exemplifies forecast shopping, and you know how I feel about forecast shopping. But they'll say this, and then I'll go back and just double check to make sure that I didn't miss something, because I am human, rumors to the contrary. And no, I didn't miss anything. And then I sit there and I start wondering, what am I missing? Am I missing something? What are they looking at that I'm not looking at? What have they seen that I haven't seen? It's very, very, at the very least, it's frustrating. But there just seems to be a little bit of an effort to make much more of these weak weather systems than what they are, just to gain some attention. And I just, can we just put a stop to it already?
I would wish that would happen, but it's not going to. So you might as well live with it, Joe. This is the world we
I
live
know.
in
Oh, I
today.
know. I mean, this is not. There's nothing new in what I said. It just goes on and on. So, welcome everybody tonight that you're on the chat board. It's good to see everyone here on this night before Christmas Eve. Hope you're getting all your Christmas stuff wrapped up and ready to go for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Excuse me. I'm going to bring up Joe. I'm going to bring up the U.S. satellite, and then I'm just going to give me 5 seconds. I have to go put my phone on the phone charger. Okay, give me 5 seconds.
All right, and while I'll use those 5 seconds to say hello to Chuck Carl Dirlo, and we wish him well, and his wife. On the chat board, I'm seeing here that
And I'm back.
wife, Chuck's wife got into a car accident as
Oh
somebody pulled
no!
out of the driveway and never looked to see if somebody was coming, which unfortunately was Chuck's wife. So Chuck's wife is okay, Joe, but apparently Chuck's car, has over $9,000 worth of damage. And
Oh,
Merry Christmas to you, Chuck.
oh!
What a time for something like this to happen, right?
I, I'm
Oh,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to hear that. Oh God, good
yeah.
Lord. Well, thank God she's okay, because it's everything else is fixable. Listen, if it makes anybody feel any better, I once uh, I once had a car accident and almost virtually totaled my sister-in-law's car in my own driveway. So what happened was, I was working. This was back in the day, Joe, when I was working the mornings at News 12, and you know how much I loved getting up at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning to work that shift on a regular basis. And
Ugh.
yeah, just how you yawn, you just basically spend most of your day in this sort of haze. So
Yes.
she had come over for a visit. I woke up from a nap, and I didn't apparently not wake up completely, and I had to go do something. I had to run out for a few minutes. I forget for what reason. So I, nobody's ever in my driveway at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I backed my truck out straight and right into the Honda, and just bashed the entire side of it. It, it's a it,
Three
it's
o'clock in the afternoon, Joe, or
yes, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I was
okay.
so I was so I was still basically not just half asleep, but just because you know you're in that haze to begin with, And then I guess I completely forgot that there was a car in my driveway as I was pulling out of the garage. So it was strange, but it did happen.
One of my son's friends parked his bike in the driveway directly behind my car, and then I had to jump into the car and get something real quick, and did not look to see if there was anybody behind me or anything behind me, and I ran right over the kid's bike. Did quite a bit of damage. I'm surprised I didn't really do much damage to the car, but um, we had to. And you know, if memory serves me correct, I think we paid for half of the repair to the bike. But I said later on, I said, how stupid was it to just simply put the bike right behind the car where you really couldn't see it until
Yeah, well,
it was too late.
one of those things. By the way, Joe, we have a Christmas miracle on the chat board. A true Christmas miracle here.
Uh-oh, yeah, Bill Rogers, right?
Bill Rogers hitting super chat, which we of course thank you very much, Bill. Most appreciated as always. But I find it even more astounding that he actually was able to go on the computer and do this. I mean, this is his niece showed him how to send a super chat, and if I can do it, anyone can. Oh, I'm so proud of you, Bill. Listen, you hunt, you shoot deer, and you can hit super chat. I mean, can life be any better than that?
And Ken Musillo, thank you, Ken, for hitting super chat as well tonight.
Yes, and we also have Johnny Quest pounding the table and the tip jar, the super chat tip jar. Thank you very much, everybody. Most generous ahead of this Christmas and most appreciated. I've got my tree up, but it's just been a tough, certainly a tough last 7 or 8 weeks for me. So I'm just finally kind of turning the corner. So thank you very much. And David Schwartz also hitting super chat and saying Happy Christmas to one and all. And yes, Happy Christmas to one and all. So anyhow.
Oh dear, and Chuck says that the car that apparently was in the
Oh,
accident tonight has only, look at this, Joe, 4,100 miles. A 2021 Malibu, 4,100 miles, and unfortunately, the guy who didn't coming out of his driveway didn't see Chuck. Um,
that's horrible. And you know what? Considering everything today, how long it might take to get certain parts, you just imagine. I can't imagine how long it's going to take to get it repaired. Oh, but again, she's okay. The car is fixable, so let's remember that part of it. Okay.
yes, yes.
All right. So we've got uh, we've got this weak little system that somehow broke through the western trough out there and came eastward, and we have a little bit of seasonal cold air overhead, and you can see the clouds that are marching eastward on the satellite. There's nothing to this, Joe. There's barely a low. It's just basically a little kink in the upper atmosphere moving along with some moisture, and that really is about it.
Right. I saw actually. I will not mention what station it was, but one station actually showed a snow map for tonight and had me in a coating to an inch, Joe. And I'm kind of scratching my head how that's going to be possible, but you know, that's the way of the world these days. You got to
Right.
make something out of nothing, and that's the story for tonight and tomorrow morning, I
Well,
guess.
the Weather Service has you in a coating. Okay. It's got a 1 up in Dutchess County, and it's got a couple of 2s in the Catskills, and up in Hunter Mountain, and a 2 east of Albany. Yeah, this is a coating to an inch. The southern part of this, for sure, is a coating to at best an inch. And then maybe the area is a little bit further to the north. It could be a coating to an inch to perhaps 2 in some elevated area or something. But that really is all you're going to get out of this. to say this is trying to get a silk purse out of a sow's ear is really, I think, even there is an exaggeration. I noticed, by the way, Joe, we have an exceptional number of trolls on the board tonight, so we welcome those trolls. You can put your credit card through the super chat and hit the tip jar, because if you're going to be a pain in the neck on the board, you might as well pay us for it. Anyway, here's the here, and especially if you're going to put up stupid crap. So anyway, here's the radar. I would imagine, probably, I haven't really looked at the obs, but I would imagine where you see some of the green is probably some snow that's actually reaching the ground, whereas in the blue it's not reaching the ground. It's a small area. How much of it holds together? How much of it doesn't hold together? All moving through overnight into tomorrow morning while we have some of this cold air around. And then, of course, the cold air goes away, and then we have another shot of moisture coming up for Christmas Day, which is going to be mostly rain.
And Joe, it looks like for the next several days, we're looking for temperatures that are going to be near or even above normal, especially the 6 to 10 day outlook from the Climate Prediction Center has our part of the country above normal with also above normal precipitation. So I dare say, sorry about this, snow lovers, but whatever precip we see in the coming days ahead are more than likely going to be hydrometeors as opposed to snowflakes. Hydrometeors, of course, meaning raindrops.
Right.
And thank you to the chairman for hitting super chat. Also to Digger 310 who hit the super chat jar, and also, and this is really amazing to me after what has just happened to him. Our friend Chuck Cardillo also hitting a super chat tonight. Thanks so much,
Thank you,
Chuck,
Chuck.
for
and
that.
and also
It really
and Paul Roman. We got Paul
and
Roman
Paul Roman
too,
too.
also
Yes.
hitting super chat tonight. I'm going to just really quick, because trying to see, they the moderators here do such a great job. You have these idiots, these trolls that come on and put these I guess they're links to porn sites or whatever they are, and they hide the messages. And I just went to read what one of the messages was. Don't you have anything else better to do? Don't you have a gift to wrap to give to somebody you hate? For God's sake. Uh, and yes, by the way, special thanks to the chairman too, because he's been doing these COVID runs with this Omicron variant going around and being highly contagious. So let's hope everybody stays safe during this weekend and going forward. So, by the way, on the radar, all the action has been in the West and continues to be in the West. There's some pretty heavy rain going on in Southern California down in here. It doesn't happen too often on this show where we pull up the radar and it's pouring in San Diego and Los Angeles at the same time, but that's where the rain is tonight, and it's moving northeastward. And heavy snows going to be going on in Utah and in Nevada, up the Sierra Nevadas, and also into the Cascades, which is not exactly breaking news because we've been talking about this forever. And the Weather Service, as we check out the watches and warnings, if we got to do this, we might as well find a winter storm to talk about someplace. And
Oh my God, Joe.
I see it. I see it. Thank you, Michael McGuire.
People are.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you, Michael McGuire. Most generous, most overly generous. Thank you so much for hitting super chat. By the way, just so everybody knows, I mean, we're not. This is what we do for a living now, so it's it's we love doing the show. It's great when you guys hit the tip jar, and thank you very much. Okay,
and Joe, let me just say one other thing, and that is that today, and I couldn't believe it when I looked at the calendar just to make sure that on this 23rd of December, today or this evening marks 5 years since I left News 12, 5 years since I did my final weathercast at News 12, and I posted that on Facebook, and my goodness, all of the all of the comments that have come in the aftermath of that, making note of that. In some ways, for me at least, a sad anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't believe that it's been 5 years. I spent a good part of my television career at that station, and the new ownership that took over from the Dolans, who it's like Joe, you had a car that was running perfectly, and then you pass that car along to a new owner, and then the new owner promptly decided to gum up the fuel injectors and do all sorts of craziness to the car, and the car is just like sputtering along or whatever, nothing like it was. And that's the people who commented about the fact that I've been gone now for 5 years, making those comments about that particular station now. It's just not the way it was. Um, but what are you going to do? But I appreciated all of the nice comments and kind thoughts that people had posted in lieu of my saying that it's been 5 years. I can't believe it's been 5 years, but it has. And of course, then I moved on to FiOS One and ended up being with you. And I remember when you found out I was coming over to FiOS One to join you, you said we're going to have a blast, and we had a blast over there, and we're still having a blast now on this new forum, this new format of doing a TV show of sorts on the internet every
It's
night, and
not a
having
TV show.
such
Hold
great
on. Well,
people.
hold on. It's not a TV show.
Well, I don't
It's
know.
not a TV show of sorts. It's a TV show. YouTube is the number one outlet, okay? Ahead of everybody, ahead of Netflix, ahead of Amazon Prime. YouTube is number one. We have a YouTube show, okay? You see, you know, Joe, I love you almost as much as I love my luggage. You know that, correct? So, but you're kind of you're stuck. You and I both grew up in this sort of we grew up through a beautiful. Hold on, let me just bring us full screen if we're going to talk about this. Um, you and I grew up through an incredible an incredible amount of changes that occurred over the course of our lifetimes in terms of television, in terms of technology, and so on. And what's happened is the amount of growth, the amount of change that has occurred in the last 5 to 10 years supersedes the amount of change that took place in the prior 40 years by a factor of 50. And I would just gently suggest to you that, it's okay to kind of move into that next plateau. All right. So we're not sort of a TV show. We are a TV show. All right. I just
Yes.
I just want to make that clear. Okay. And we
Okay.
and we
Yeah.
are and we're on the number one streaming channel that distributes videos in the world. Okay, which is YouTube.
Well, I mean, even my sister watches us on her big screen TV. So yes, we are a television show over
Right.
there.
Or as Alice said to
No,
whoever it was she was talking about when Ralph was on the $99,000 question, what did she say? He's big everywhere.
no, he said he's the biggest. He
Oh,
said,
he's the
"Watch out,
big right.
Trixie." Trixie said when he turns sideways, he's the biggest thing on television.
Television, yes. No, it was Fred who would describe as Ethel saying, when Ethel's father said Ethel May's big in these parts, and he said she's big everywhere.
Oh, incidentally, Joe, have you had a chance yet to see the new film or video of Lucy and Desi on
No, I
I
got
guess
your
on Netflix?
sister's message. I haven't had the time to respond to it. Um, I've actually been reading a lot about how the production of the movie and Aaron Sorkin and what they basically did was they took they basically showed you a week in how it took to put together the I Love Lucy show and what they went through for the week. And they took 3 historical elements that occurred in the 7 years that the show was being done and put them all in the same week. The Red Scare,
Right.
Lucy being pregnant, and then of course focusing on their own personal issues with their marriage, and they kind of all squeeze it into this one time frame. For the clips I've seen, and I've seen almost probably enough clips to have seen at least half the movie already. Um, it seems to be very well done, and it's got Lucy Arnaz's and Desi Arnaz Jr.'s approval on all of this, especially if it has Lucy Arnaz's approval. It's good. If it's good enough for her, it's definitely good enough for me. But I do plan
What
to
annoyed
I do plan to see it.
there's one particular. I don't know if my sister in her contact with you had told you
Yeah, she did.
specifically what what
She didn't
what
tell
she's annoyed at.
she didn't tell me specifically. I was curious as to what she was annoyed at.
Well, I could tell you now, or I can let you wait and
No,
watch for
no.
yourself.
Tell me now because I'm not going to have time to watch it until after Christmas.
Well, there's the segment, the Red Scare with Lucy and Lucille Ball, where everybody was said, "My God, Lucille Ball's a communist or whatever," which wasn't really true at all. She tried to appease an uncle of hers who
Yeah,
was
that actually happened.
right. It did, but in the episode that before the episode that they shot that evening, Desi made an impassioned plea to the audience
Yes.
about what was going on, what was in the newspapers, and everything else. And he said something to the effect, he said, Lucy is not red. And then when he introduced her to the audience, he
Even her
said, here she is.
even her hair isn't red, isn't real.
Correct,
Right.
correct. And that is what annoys my sister, because that particular line was never used in the movie, in the speech that Desi gives in the
Oh,
movie. And
okay.
and
Well,
and and I said to her, I said, look, this is Hollywood. And I mean, look at Pride of the Yankees. If you've ever seen that movie about Lou Gehrig and how Gary Cooper played Lou Gehrig, the final scene where he gives his famous "I'm the luckiest man on the face of the earth," the speech that he gives in that movie is nothing like the actual speech that Lou Gehrig made at Yankee Stadium.
right.
They changed it. They changed it completely. So I said, "This is Hollywood. What are you going to do?" For example, in Apollo 13, I'm sure many of you have seen Apollo 13. When they were coming down to splash down, there was no typhoon in the splashdown area. No, but Ron Howard, I guess, felt that they had to jazz as if having the command module blowing up in outer space and putting the lives of the
What
astronauts at
that
risk.
wasn't
If
drama
that wasn't
enough.
enough,
Yeah.
they had to add a typhoon or whatever. So this is Hollywood.
No, this
It's
is
Hollywood.
it's typical with these movies. There has to be some kind of dramatic build up to a crescendo of some kind, and it's done all the time, and especially in movies that are supposed to be quote historically factual. They're anything but historically factual. Just so we're clear on this. By the way, also adding to the super chat tip jar tonight is Steve Lapointe and David Carter and Mike Whitley or Whiteley. I think I'm going to guess it's Whitley. And all expressing their thanks and Merry Christmas to all of you. Thank you, and everybody that's on tonight watching the show, and whether you hit the super chat tip jar or not. Yeah, that's just the usual creative license because there's a certain formula of how you write movies and scripts, and you always have to add that extra scene of drama, whether it's factual or not. Doesn't really matter too much from the standpoint of the movie. They're not documentaries, okay? They're an artist's interpretation of life, and that's all there is to it. So why don't we take
And
a
I
look?
forget the actor's name. I have one final note about the movie. I forget the actor's name, but he's the one who does the Farmers Insurance commercials.
Yeah, J.K.
Um,
Simmons. He plays from William Frawley.
right. And according to my sister, he does a spot on William Frawley,
Yeah,
the or Fred
I
Mertz.
saw a scene where he was sitting in a chair and they had like a straight shot of his face, and for a second there, I thought I saw Bill Frawley. Uh,
Yeah.
J.K. Simmons is a great actor. He if anybody could pull the role off of William Frawley, definitely he.
Wait a minute, will you?
Yes, exactly. All right. There are a number of folks waiting, Joe. They're waiting for you know what, Joe. They're waiting for pattern change. And we'll talk about that shortly. I just wanted to pull up the watches and warnings. You can see they're all in the west. I mean, you got a slew of winter storm warnings up the Sierra Nevadas and then up through Northern California into Oregon and through Washington State. A good chunk of the state of Oregon is either under winter storm warning or winter weather advisories. You have advisories up in northeast Nevada. You have winter storm warnings up in northeastern Utah, which I believe includes Salt Lake City, southern and western Wyoming. Excuse me, western Colorado. High wind warnings in parts of New Mexico and also in parts of Wyoming. So a very, very busy night out there in the western part of the United States. And you know what? You can thank the negative PNA, the Pacific North America Index, which is very strongly negative. I mean, it's trended downward as we've been watching this. Excuse me, folks. The cough is getting to me a little bit. It's trended downward over the last couple of weeks. It's going to stay negative, and then kind of inch a little higher toward when we get into the first week of January, but still stay strongly negative. So that means the southeast ridge is going to be very, very hard to get rid of. The only thing that keeps us from being in a blowtorch is the fact that the NAO is also somewhat negative, and then you got a mixture here of a lot of the members actually on the NAO after January 1st go positive. So I actually probably will welcome that because it's the only thing it's really done here is just kept the southeast ridge from flying up the east coast and making it much warmer than it has been. That at least has kept temperatures in check. It's my own theory is if it's not going to be a pattern that's favorable for it to snow, it might as well be warm, so you're not paying some excruciatingly high heating bill. And the Arctic oscillation, which is negative right now, is actually forecast to go neutral to positive as we head to January 1st and into the new year. And remember, the teleconnections are volatile from run to run, so we could wind up seeing these change a bit as we go through the coming days. So what we see today is not necessarily what we'll see tomorrow. So while I go and get a glass of water, maybe you can describe, I've got the GFS up on the screen. You can maybe talk about what's going on tonight and through the weekend. So I'll be back in about 1 minute.
All righty. So let's talk about the GFS and what we are looking at. And my goodness, Johnny, are you okay? I almost wish I could grab you and give you a slap on the back or whatever. All right, folks, while Joe gets that water, we do have a disturbance that is going to make its way across the region during the overnight hours tonight. And yeah, it's not out of the question that some of you tomorrow morning, when you look out the window, may see a little bit of snow, most notably on the colder surfaces like the grass and maybe the top of your cars. But that's going to be a quick moving system. Whatever snow that comes out of this will be coming from late tonight on into the very early part of tomorrow. Pretty well will be out of here by midday. And then for tomorrow afternoon and evening, it looks dry. The next round of precipitation arriving after midnight tomorrow night. Santa, if you're watching, and I do know that you watch Santa up in the North Pole, wants to get the latest forecast for the tri state area. Santa, after midnight tomorrow night into the early hours of Christmas morning, definitely IFR conditions, instrument flight rules. You'd better tell that to Rudolph and the reindeer. Looks like we are going to have some rain after midnight tomorrow night and early into Saturday morning. And that rain doesn't look like it's going to be very heavy. Looks like it'll be a light rain that'll be falling. Be out of here probably by midday. And then another. I mean, one thing you got to say about this pattern that we're in, everything is moving very fast. It's a very progressive pattern already. By late Saturday, a storm, I guess you can call it an Alberta Clipper, will be moving across the upper Ohio Valley, rapidly moving up into New York State. And that's bad news because that means we'll be on the warm side of that system, which means additional rain, not snow, probably from later Saturday into Saturday night and on into early Sunday. Good news if you are a snow lover and are heading up toward upstate New York, the Adirondacks, north of Albany, and on the Northway, and across a good part of Vermont and New Hampshire. It looks like that Clipper system may bring some snow, not a heavy dose, but a significant snowfall for those areas during the upcoming Christmas holiday weekend. But for us, it looks like it's going to be more wet than white. Again, a touch of snow maybe for tonight into early tomorrow. I know, Joe, you made a mention of this, a cheap thrill. And that's what this
Yes.
looks like for snow lover for tonight into early
and,
tomorrow.
that, and that's really all we can get in the next 10 days to 2 weeks is something like this, where it kind of breaks out of that western trough and moves eastward. And then maybe you got a little bit of seasonably cold air that is overhead. And that's really all you're going to be able to get out of it. And then the cold air pulls out anyway. And these fast moving systems don't help the cause either. And by the way, if you look at Saturday, if you're in southern Pennsylvania, southern New Jersey, going down into Maryland, Delaware, Virginia, you're going to get not only are you going to get very little rain, but it's quite likely that you'll see temperatures at least in the 50s, and maybe in Washington, D.C., Baltimore, um, northeastern Virginia, you could probably see temperatures perhaps reach up into the low 60s for Christmas Day. And then the next one for Monday, now this one would be coming in at a time where there would be a little bit of cold air because you'd have this first system pulling out. But um, as a result of the low that develops on Sunday, but there's the trough stays offshore, so the system coming east kind of hits that trough and gets all suppressed and falls apart as it reaches the east coast. So then we wait for the next one, which is Wednesday, and that's all rain. So it's kind of like what we're seeing right now, just repeating. You get a system that comes when the air is cold enough, brings you at best a cheap thrill, and then you get the more important system behind it when there's no cold air, and you wind up getting rain. And that's what happens on Wednesday. Then that goes out, and then after that, you've got something coming in for New Year's Day with a high going off the North Carolina coast. So that's not useful, and that means more rain here in the east. And again, lows going to the west. If we're going to lose the NAO, we're going to lose the whatever blockiness there is. So you're going to start taking lows up to the left and the west side of the Appalachians and into the eastern lakes. I mean, there just does not seem any real. There's no real chance here for a major change if you can't get that western trough to get out of the way, and it doesn't want to.
Again, I'm looking. I'm going against my own rule here when I say don't count on anything much beyond 5 days. But just as out of curiosity, I'm looking at on the 12Z GFS the 342-hour prog. That would be, incidentally, Thursday, 1 p.m., January 6th. Little Christmas, the Epiphany. Christmas officially, the season officially comes to an end. And on that particular day, if you want to take this at face value, we have temperatures of 60 degrees in the lower Hudson Valley and 65 in Philadelphia, and even up as far north as Albany, 57 degrees. So you're hoping that long range, there's some semblance or some signs that we're going to see some frigid or at least colder than normal conditions it don't look like that's going to be the case, Joe, as we cross over from 2021 into 2022. But again, these things can change. I mean, 342 hours, that's what? That's like 12, 13 days out.
Right.
You know, never, never really put, you know, it's not in it's not in granite. Let's put it that way. Things can change, but it doesn't look like a very pretty picture if you want wintry conditions.
Well, the western trough in around say January 3rd or 4th actually does come out of the west and moves eastward, and it pushes a little vortex up in southeastern Canada. But guess what? As quickly as it pulls in, this would be a quick shot of cold air that lasts a day or so. As quickly as it pulls in, it pulls out, and the next troughs drop into the west. I mean, I'm looking out here at day 16. Trough down in the west of the Rockies, ridge off the east coast. It's a flat 591 high south of Bermuda, and you've got pretty much basically a west southwest flow going on from Texas to St. Louis, and draw the flow east northeast from there. The winds take you out off of New England and out into the Atlantic. There's no cross polar flow. There's nothing. It's a horror show for the standpoint of a winter pattern. So again,
Absolutely.
no sign of any meaningful change in the weather pattern going forward.
Joe Lepresti on the chat board said, "I'd rather have the models predict warm 2 weeks out rather than the cold that never happens. Maybe then we'll get the cold. LOL." Yeah.
Except the problem with that, Joe, is to be cynical about it. When it does predict the warmth, when it does predict that the trough is going to be in the west, 10 to 16 days out, guarantee it's there. Guaranteed it's there.
Yeah.
If the trough is predicted to be in the east, it'll be anywhere but in the east.
East.
By the way, for those of you who mentioned, and I understand, I apologize for the coughing. Part of this has to do with the fact that I got to take meds before the show, which dehydrate me. Also, in the evenings, I mentioned earlier, this is usually the time when my colitis, inflammation gets a little worse. So when that happens, I tend to spike a little bit of a fever, not much of one, but a little bit, a small one. And as a result, that's why I'm coughing, because it's like literally having somebody putting their hand around my throat. So I don't have bronchitis. I don't have pneumonia. It's all clear for that. This is all related to the fact that I'm still trying to slowly make my way through this wonderful little adventure that I have been on for the last 8 to 9 weeks.
Right, your adventure, my adventure down well south, has come to an end, and I've left it behind. But your adventure, which was just beginning, as my adventure was, is still with you, and we're hoping that as we turn the corner into 2022, that you too will leave it behind.
Well, thank you. It's most appreciated, Joe. It's frustrating, believe me. In the morning, I usually have a lot of energy, but around noontime, 1 o'clock, I just literally conk out for 2 hours because I'm on one medication now, and it just is very, very, I have to take it every 12 hours, and it just takes a lot out of you. It really does. The upside is, and I'm not sure why, I think I mentioned this yesterday, but 2 or 3 days ago, I had this incredible craving for sauerkraut. I had to have sauerkraut. So I actually made myself a hot dog with sauerkraut and mustard. And today, I made myself a couple of chickens. I made some chicken thighs. I broiled them in the cast iron skillet, and I made myself a couple of chicken sandwiches, also with sauerkraut and a bit of mustard. And I don't know why, but my body is craving sauerkraut. I have read that cabbage is actually very good when you have major stomach issues. It's very binding, so it tends to soak up the water in your intestines. And well, so maybe my body is telling me eat eat sauerkraut, eat anything with cabbage in it, and it will help you feel better. And I actually have got today for the first time, for the first time, I'm able to open my refrigerator door and not be repulsed by everything that was in there. The last couple of weeks, except for bananas and applesauce and a few other things, I have not wanted to eat anything and look at food of any kind. But finally, today, for the first time, it's like I was actually able to tolerate opening the refrigerator door and not, wanting to barf. I guess that's the best way to put it. So,
One thing, one interesting that's interesting to me, Joe, is that the European does not provide the same 10 millibar, stratospheric map that the GFS provides. I'd really love to
right.
see what how the European would handle those systems, way up in the atmosphere, but they don't. I mean, the best you can do is just simply look at the northern hemisphere, as you've done many times before, at the 500 millibar level, and you can make comparisons to the GFS. But I'd really love to see, for example, where the European would have the polar vortex and where it would be suggestive of where it's going over the next couple of weeks. Can't do that on the European, at least the European that's readily available, generally available to us.
From what I've read, the polar vortex on all the models is forecast to remain fairly strong and pinned up to the north, and there's no sign of any kind of stratospheric warming event setting up for the month of January. So translated means what you got is probably what you're going to continue to have for the next month.
Gee, what are we going to do to kill off all that time, Joe, during January on those boring nights in January that this continues?
I don't know. I don't know. And once I get cured of this thing, that's one less thing to talk about. you know.
Do we have a Briller Jeopardy tonight, or?
Let me take a look. He sent you the last one, correct?
Correct.
All right, hang on. I'm checking. Oh, the following program is brought to you in living color on the NBC network.
By the way, Renata says sauerkraut is one of the best things you can eat.
Yes.
It will help your digestive system return to normal, and it is very good for the stomach.
No, listen, I've definitely, I definitely think it's helped me the last 3 days because I suddenly have at least been able to look at food without wanting to upchuck, and my stomach does feel better from that respect also. All right, let's see what we got here. My messenger is very slow tonight, so I'm trying to bring it up here little by little. Of course, it brings up the wrong one. Oh, God, come on. Da 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 da. Da, 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 da. Now I can't bring Messenger up at all. All right, now here we go. Finally, let's see if I can finally bring it up on the screen. Oh, here we go. You ready?
I'm ready.
Oh, and Timothy Veltman also just sent me the 10 millibar European, Joe. All right, let me save.
Oh,
All right, hang on. Let me save that. Well, before I use it, URO 10. Okay.
by the way, Joe, Renata also adds that on the other hand, eating a hot dog or having a hot dog was probably one of the worst things you could have eaten.
Maybe, but you know what? I ate an uncured hot dog, a Boar's Head uncured hot dog, which has no nitrites and is lower in sodium. So, and it's actually it was an all beef hot dog, so it wasn't really that high in fat either. Um, okay, my oh come on, I hate when my computer does this. Hang on a second, Joe. I'm sorry. I had Briller Jeopardy up there, and now I lost it. It's the same theme.
This sounds like what I was going through for 2.5 weeks when I was on the cruise. I mean, there was internet, but it was woefully slow.
I don't know why it's doing this. Let me see if I can shut a window or two. Maybe that'll help. It can't certainly hurt. Okay. Get rid of that. Get rid of this. Okay, so it's basically the same thing from last night, Joe. The percentage of white Christmases, 1 inch on the ground for the following 10 cities. And
Okay.
you have within 15%. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Here's your first city. Go.
What's the city?
Oh, Fargo, North Dakota.
Fargo. Fargo, North Dakota. I would say that Fargo has this is for a white Christmas now.
1 inch on the ground on Christmas Day.
1 inch on Christmas Day. How about for Fargo? I would say 70%.
And you are within the margin of error of 15%. It's 78. Next is Denver, Colorado.
Denver's tricky.
Yes.
Denver, I would put in the same. Denver, I would put in the same category as Buffalo, because there'll be times when they're getting whomped with snow, and then there'll be other times when they're probably close to 70 degrees. I'll say for Denver, 55%.
You just got it inside the 15% window because the for Denver it's 40. Okay, 40 for Denver.
Wow.
Caribou,
Wow.
Maine.
Yeah.
Caribou, Maine.
I would say for Caribou. What was Fargo again?
78 for Fargo.
Uh-huh. I wouldn't say it would be that high for Caribou, but I'll say 70 for Caribou.
Oh, sorry, you are outside the margin of error for 50. Caribou is 86. 86.
You're kidding me.
No.
86%.
86.
Wow.
Boston, Massachusetts.
Boston. I'd say for Boston, I would say 20%.
19 is the number for Boston. Staying on that New England theme, Burlington, Vermont.
Burlington, Vermont. How about for Burlington? I'll say 48.
Oh, Joe, way off. 77.
Where are they getting these high numbers from?
77 is the number for Burlington, Vermont.
Wow.
Norfolk, Virginia.
Wow.
Norfolk, Virginia.
Oh, how about 5?
3 for Norfolk. Oklahoma.
Okay.
Oklahoma, where the wind comes whistling down the plain. Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma. How about 15?
8 for Oklahoma City. 8. Flagstaff, Arizona.
Yeah, Flagstaff is a whole different animal. Flagstaff, let's see. Well, Denver has 40, and they're further north, but Flagstaff is more of a. They get Pacific storms, and I'm going to say 55 for Flagstaff.
Oh, very good guess there. Within 56. Pierre, South Dakota. As
And you
opposed
see, you're
what?
right.
As
Opposed to
opposed to
Pierre.
Pierre. As a Pierre, South Dakota, as opposed to Pierre.
How about because I've done the weather. I used to do the weather on the radio out in Pierre, and in fact, I the first day out I said Pierre, and they stopped the tape and they said no, 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 it's Pierre. How about 65?
49.
What now? What do they have? 49?
49.
See, now I don't get that. How could they be so low? And Burlington, for example, is so much higher.
I don't know. You'll have to
I don't.
argue it with the chambers of commerce of these cities. And last but not least is Atlantic City, New Guernsey.
Well, Atlantic City. What did we say for Norfolk? We said what? They were 3.
Norfolk was 3.
I know. Yesterday Philly was what, 7% of that. Why don't we just say for Atlantic City 5?
Atlantic City is, I believe it was 7. I think it was 7. Yeah, 7.
And they don't even. And the weather station or the airport is not even at Atlantic City. It's 10 miles inland at a town called Pomona, New
Right.
Jersey. So
I'm going to bring up that 10 millibar European map. It's a, you know, it's another one of the. This is for valid. Oh, I can't see the date because I lost the resolution on it. But it looks like it's valid for the end of December. But here, I'll bring it up on the screen for you. I mean, it has a look of a polar vortex that is so totally different from what the GFS has. I mean, the whole vortex is down in over Greenland, Davis Strait, northeastern Canada, northern part of Hudson Bay, and pushed down, troughing into the eastern part of the United States. I mean, no, this is. It doesn't look like this, and it won't look like this. I don't know if you should be able to see it there, Joe, on the screen.
I see it. And yeah, you're right. It is. It is different. In fact, if you look at the 2 red areas and consider them eyes, and you consider the polar vortex as mouth, it looks like that. What is it? Is it Picasso with that guy screaming the scream?
Yes. Yes, exactly.
Johnny
it all symbolizes man's inhumanity to man.
Johnny Quest, you keep asking about the comet. Forget about the comet. The comet is a very dim, fuzzy, bleh, and I don't even think it's available anymore for us here in the northern hemisphere. There's never much to write home about to begin with.
What was the name of this? What was the name of this comet?
Leonard.
Comet Leonard?
Yes. Leonard.
Right, Leonard.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had the Christmas episode where Penny gave Sheldon the napkin that was used and signed by Leonard Nimoy, which is was a very funny episode indeed.
I have to tell you something. I was never into the Big Bang Theory. However, on the way back to the United States, on the LATAM aircraft that we were flying from Santiago to Miami, they had, among other things, you could look at movies and television and thing. And I said, let me take a look at this Big Bang Theory. I looked at 6 straight episodes from the 3rd season, and I gained a very significant appreciation for the Big Bang Theory. So,
oh, good. I'm glad. It's very well written. It's hilarious, especially the funniest parts are where Sheldon is forced to interact with the real world. I had sent you that clip of Sheldon at the DMV.
Right.
I don't know if you looked at it.
I did. I
Okay,
did.
but
I did.
those are some of the funnier, those are the funnier moments, and they have so many characters that they've brought in over the years, including Leonard's mother, who Leonard has issues with, and Christina Baranski plays Leonard's mother, and she's sort
Right.
of she's this. I don't know if you've seen any episodes with her in it, but they're
There
hilarious.
was one episode. Yes. Yes.
Yes, I
There
have
was
to.
one episode. One episode I did see again from the third season was Penny um, found out that it was trying to learn some basic facets of physics, and she was asking Sheldon, could you teach me physics?
Yes,
And and the thing about Jim Parsons, who does Sheldon, being able to memorize very complex, you know, pieces of information to make him sound so outlandishly nerdish or whatever. And in this particular episode, toward the end of the episode, Penny uh, reels off over a 20-second period something equally as complex, if not even more complex, anything that Sheldon ever said. And the audience gave her like it may have been a standing ovation. And, like she went from being the resident ditz on the show to, you know, almost like Einsteinian with that one piece of monologue.
right.
And and I was laughing out loud. I mean, Renata will tell you, I'm watching some of these episodes. She's trying to sleep on the plane, and here I am going, watching these
Some of
episodes of
the
Big Bang.
there's a
So,
there's a a bunch of later episodes with Bob Newhart in them, which are also hysterical. Bob Newhart was doctor had a tele was a he had a TV show on public television, and he was Doctor Proton. So there's a whole there are a whole bunch of episodes built around him. So I'm glad you like it. You should watch the series from little by little from start to finish. I mean, it's on like a bunch of channels, so it's hard to not
oh yeah,
miss it.
oh yeah. There's
But
no, it's absolutely.
it's very funny, very funny.
And the
Oh,
funny thing is also is that that the Sheldon and Leonard is a tribute to the famous producer
right, Sheldon
from
Leonard, correct.
Sheldon Leonard.
There's a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah.
there's a lot of little things like that um, with regards to in the show. A lot of little um, what do you call those? What we just talked about with the Sheldon Leonard. But there's a lot of little subtleties that refer to famous people that have been on TV or in science along the way. So it's very good. Okay, so how shall we? Let's end the night and wishing you and your family, Joe, a very Merry Christmas. I hope you have a great Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And I hope I'm a little better over the next couple of days. I'm going to be with my daughter on Saturday, so hopefully I'll be in good shape by the time we get to Saturday. And everybody watching from home tonight, thank you of course, for being here, and a wonderful Merry Christmas to all of you and to your families, and travel safely. Enjoy the holiday. Enjoy it. Don't drink too much. Just have a good time, and you know, it's all good. It's all good. And thanks to all of you who hit the super chat tip jar tonight. Very, very generous of you. Thank you.
I'd like to thank everybody too. And I can't believe, Joe, that when we get into 2022, I believe we'll be getting our fourth year of the Joe and Joe show. So
Yep.
in your archives, I think you probably have every single Joe and Joe that's ever been done.
They're all on my YouTube channel. You can't every single one of them. And Timothy Veltman,
Oh God.
hitting
Thank you,
super
Tim.
chat. Thank you very much. Um, and we do split it. So thank you so much, Timothy. Um, it's I get humbled during these situations, which is a very tough thing to
Well,
do, by the way.
and we all thank you very much, Joe. Have fun with the grandkids on this Christmas weekend, and we will be back. The good Lord willing, we'll be back at 11 o'clock a.m. on the day after Christmas, Boxing Day, Sunday, with another edition of the Joe and Joe Show. Hopefully, a little less boring than what we've had
Yes.
in recent days.
Okay. Merry Christmas, everyone, and have a great night. Good night, everybody.
Happy Festivus.